Sweet, we're in. Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Sorry about the couple minutes of,
Sweet, we're in. Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Like
Sorry about the couple.
There we go. Forgot to close it out on Facebook. Okay, so we are live, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you for being here. If you're on Zoom, it's so nice to see everybody. I love being on Zoom where we can actually interact with each other. If you guys have questions throughout this, make sure you put them in the comments so that we can get to you guys. We may, if we don't answer it right away, doesn't mean that we're not going to answer it. We are going to go through stuff as, if something comes up that we feel like needs to be answered right away, we'll answer it. But otherwise, we may just, go through the questions and at the end answer kind of sort of all of them. But we do have a really awesome little presentation for you today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook, say hello there too. And make sure that we're all up here. Okay, I see us here on Facebook as well. So yes, so if you're on Facebook, say hi, tell us where you're coming in from. One of my favorite things about doing this online is the fact that we literally get to share this information with the entire world. It's so awesome. So you could be watching from anywhere, right? And that's like one of the coolest things about being able to share online. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. So we can pull up this slideshow and here we go. We're going to talk about the amazing science of living structured water. And I'm so excited because it's literally one of my favorite things to talk about. And I know Wendy's too. And so I'm so excited to be here with Wendy. So we are going to introduce ourselves in just a second. Well, actually, we're going to introduce ourselves right now. So let's go ahead and start there, and then we'll get going into our presentation. So I'm so excited to be here with Wendy because Wendy is someone that she's so knowledgeable when it comes to all things like holistic health. She's really transformed her life into more of a holistic. She used to be in the allopathic healthcare world, and she's really transitioned herself into the holistic world. And when you listen to her talk, she's so passionate about really helping people thrive. And so I'm going to go ahead and let Wendy introduce herself.
Hi guys, my name is Wendy Wiggs, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you guys sharing about this water. I actually work with Louise as well on the thermographic side. I'm a thermographic technician still, but like she said, I spent from my very first career, my early 20s was as a medical assistant, and I've been in allopathic and Western medicine for about 25 years, including about 15 years at one of the largest hospitals here in Northern California, most of the time in the ER. So I definitely have the background from the pharmaceutical side, the Western side, like I said, treating the problem and really treating it mostly pharmaceutically. I didn't actually start really shifting my, medical practices into more holistic based practices until I started having my own health challenges. As I said, I was working in the ER. My physician told me that they thought I had thyroid cancer. In addition, I had had an injury, and as a result, I was on about 20 different medications a day. So I don't talk about that part of my story a whole lot, but that really started me questioning what I was doing. I felt like I was just masking thing on top of thing, medication on top of medication. And so I started really going outside of my box and my tool house that I was so familiar with. And so I started researching plant medicine, and that sort of started me on my journey to wellness. I got off all 20 medications, started living just more vibrantly, started really seeing the picture of my whole health, my mind, body, and my spirit, and really understanding what my lifestyle and how my lifestyle played into my health. And so if you knew me a couple of years ago, I lived in Walnut Creek. It was really hustle bustle. I worked in an ER. I was about 4 cups of Starbucks coffee a day. And now I live out in the country with my beautiful wife and all my animals and grow our own food. And I'm getting ready to move to Tennessee for off-gridding. So really, really drastic changes. And I couldn't be happier that this water has really become a part of my life. I'm going to really trying to hurry this up now. So sorry. So my first experience with the water, I had a friend bring it to us because my beautiful spouse, Sharon, has lymphoma, which is a direct result from spraying with glyphosate. And so she has lymphoma, and we were to the point where we were having to decide whether or not to do treatment again. Her lymph nodes were getting so large you could actually see them. And so we had a friend that brought us this water for about 8 weeks. And so visibly, I started knowing observing the changes. And since I have my background in the ER and Western medicine, at that point, I started really researching and doing my own kind of due diligence. And it took me that to say yes. So I'm super glad I did, and I'm so thrilled to be here. Sorry I went on a little long-winded, but I'll hand it back to Louise. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, no, that's Perfect. That was perfect. And I'm so glad that Sharon was introduced to this water. And I remember because like Wendy said, her and I actually worked together. We're both certified thermographic technicians. And I remember when we were talking about the water and I was, sharing water with her and she's like, oh yeah, like a friend of ours gave us that water, and then I showed her my before and after thermographic images of the water, which you guys are going to see in just a minute. Well, not in a minute, probably like in 20 minutes when we get to that part. But it was like mind blowing to see the reduced inflammation in my body when I had started drinking the water. And I showed her from like, before I even started drinking the water, I took thermal images of myself. And for those of you who are not familiar with thermography, basically we're like a heat detection, more of a holistic side. But we take the temperature of your body and we're able to determine certain things. A lot of people come to us because they're looking for like an alternative, or I should say adjunctive way of screening for like breast cancer and things like that. But we can detect inflammation in the body. And so before I even started drinking my Congo water, I took thermal images of myself. And then 1 year later took them again, because I was like, I noticed when I feel the difference, but when I could see it, it was like, oh my gosh, like I have to go and tell the world about this, right? Like it's like, you almost cannot, you can't not tell the people about it once you see those drastic changes. So anyways, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Louise Millman. I'm an earth loving, tree hugging, unschooling, freedom fighting. I feel like that's an important part because that's me in a nutshell. Like fighting for freedom is what I do. Freedom in every single aspect of life. World traveling citizen of the entire world who went from being a full-time digital nomad to, I was traveling this big, beautiful globe for the last, 5 years or so with my family, to now building an off-grid permaculture paradise of a homestead with my husband and my 2 little girls. Like I said, I'm a certified thermographic technician, and I help people find natural and proactive ways of taking care of themselves, and also love to share about one of the missing pieces of many people's health journey, which is living structured water. And that's why I'm here today, because you guys will probably notice I'm really passionate about it. So I'm about to share with you guys some stuff that, gosh, most people don't even know exist, right? Most people think like water is just water, right? The thing is that water is life. Water, it's like we need water to survive, right? Like if there's magic on this planet, then it is contained in water. That's a quote from an anthropologist that I really absolutely love, because water truly can be magical, right? And our bodies, different parts of our bodies are made up of different percentages of water, right? But like overall, you can say that our bodies are probably made up of about 70% water. And second to the air that we breathe, which most people aren't even breathing fresh air anymore, which is kind of sort of sad in its own way, right? But like second to that fresh air that we can be breathing and the good air we can be breathing, water is the most essential thing that we can be giving ourselves, right? When he's drinking our water. Every cell, every tissue, every organ in your body needs water to survive, right? And what we're going to talk to you about is, what if water wasn't just simply clean? Right? Because we think clean water is important. And I know before I learned about living structured water, I used to think, I actually almost invested in a reverse osmosis system because I really wanted clean water. I had all these issues. I wanted fluoride out of my water. I wanted chlorine out of my water. I wanted arsenic and heavy metal, all the things out of my water, right? And clean water is the first step, because we really do need clean water. But what if we could transcend clean water? What if we could rise above just clean water and showcase to you, like I said, properties of water that most people don't even know exist, that can really truly nourish us and help our bodies heal at a molecular level. And that's what we're going to show you today. So what I want to talk to you about first is, water is not all created equal. Water is not just water. Just because you're drinking water doesn't mean you're actually hydrating your body. So a couple of the options that most people have available to them today: tap water. This contains no neurotoxins and carcinogens. I mean, drinking tap water right now, if you live in the United States of America, is almost like drinking your neighbor's prescription, because there's so many, like, we're such a heavily medicated society, and this just not being filtered out, right? Plus it's got the neurotoxins, carcinogens, they're adding all kinds of crap into our water that we don't even know, because most of the stuff's not even regulated. So like tap water, if you're someone who drinks it, you might want to reconsider. So then people say, cool, well, I'll just drink plastic water bottles, right? That's better than tap water. Maybe not. It depends on the water bottle that you're drinking, right? But regardless, if you're drinking out of plastic, your plastic is leaching hormone disrupting chemicals into that water that also is full of it's also carcinogenic. And so when you're drinking that, it's important to know that when you drink water, you are absorbing 100% of whatever's in that water. When you bathe in it, when you wash your hands, when you do stuff like that, you're absorbing some of it, right? But when you drink it, 100% of whatever's in that water is going into your body, and you will be absorbing that. Definitely don't want to be absorbing hormone disrupting chemicals and carcinogens into your body. Plus, that's not even to mention all the detrimental effects it has on our, our Mother Earth, really, which is, I have a little bit of a hippie heart. So plastic water bottles have always kind of been like a big no-no for me. So I'm really glad that we've been able to find the water that we're going to talk to you about today, which helps us eliminate all of that. So then again, that people are like, cool, well, I'll just get myself a nice reverse osmosis system, right? I'll just go and clean my water really, really good. And that's true. It does do that. It does take out all the bad things in your water, but it also takes out all of the good things in your water. And then if you drink reverse osmosis water, your water is then acidic and corrosive, because most people don't realize this, but water is either a giver or a taker. So if it doesn't have minerals in it as it runs through your body, or well, as it goes through anything, right, it will actually take from you. So just like when water runs over a river and there's rocks on the river, it actually takes minerals from the river rocks. That's why water, when you find it naturally in nature off of a river, it's usually alkaline, right? Because it pulls minerals from the rocks. Well, it does the same thing in your body. If it doesn't have the minerals already, it actually takes from you. So reverse osmosis and distilled water is the same. It's all stripped of minerals and it's acidic and it's corrosive to your body. It's definitely not something that you want to drink long term. I'm so glad that I found that out before I almost invested thousands of dollars into a system. So if anyone's thinking about that, I also would say, I don't know, might want to reconsider, right? But we're going to get, the good thing is we're going to give you some options here that are good for you to consider moving forward, right? So what we think is the best water that you could possibly drink is naturally alkaline, hydrogen-rich water. There are a handful of places in the world where this naturally water exists. There's not too many. There's only like 7 or 8 places in the world, right? And it's usually in a place where there's hydrodynamic or geothermal activity, where the water is naturally charged by the earth. It's actually alive, it's living, it holds a negative charge. And the primary properties of this water are the fact that it's microclustered for superior hydration in our bodies. It's loaded with active molecular hydrogen. And I think that you have to like remember this term, because this is truly going to be like the superpower of what we're going to talk about today, is the fact that it's loaded with hydrogen, molecular hydrogen. And it's alkaline, meaning it has a lot of minerals that are important in our body, like calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, those type of minerals that we want to be in our water. So when you look at some of these places, you're talking about Lourdes, France, Talacate, Mexico, Nadanya, India, I don't know if I said that right, Nordna, Germany, Angels Falls, Venezuela, just to name a few, right? And when you go to these places are like places that people literally line up by the thousands. Like I know Nordna, Germany, people literally go there every single day because they want to bathe in this water. They want to drink this water, because there's so many people that have these like miraculous stories about how this water has done amazing things to our body. And so again, the primary properties of the water that they're finding in these places are these 3 things: microclustered, hydrogen rich, and alkaline with all of the really great minerals.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember the first time that I actually went to one of your classes, Louise, I remember seeing that. And I actually used to want to go to Lourdes, France for that reason. I remember seeing a documentary on people going there for spontaneous healing, and then reading about the properties of the water and kind of putting 2 and 2 together and like hypothesizing why people were actually going there. And so, like Louise said, that is the absolute best water on the planet, is naturally occurring, or naturally reduced water, or NRW. But luckily for us, about 50 years ago, Japan came up with a technology that has been able to create a process that's able to give us the water with the same properties as that naturally reduced water. And it's called ERW, or electrolyzed reduced water. It's also called H2 water because it has such a high concentration of molecular hydrogen inside of it. Clinical studies and peer review research. Okay, you guys, this is where I get really excited. So they've shown that ERW and H2 water have been an effective therapy for many health conditions, such as, so let's talk about a couple of these: skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, acne, all sorts of other skin purging, heart conditions, brain conditions, inflammation, which we're going to talk more about later, autoimmunity, digestive issues, neurological conditions, diabetes related. The reason I say I get really excited about this is I get really excited about bridging the gap between hearing anecdotal stories, hearing testimonies, seeing it with my own eyes, and then drawing from my background, really wanting to know why. I was on a call a few days ago. We were onboarding this amazing clinic out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I had an ER doctor. And he said, Wendy, I want you to know I really love everything I'm hearing, but coming from my background, I have a healthy dose of skepticism. And so this is why it excites me that we can go and we can actually refer or defer rather to peer-reviewed studies, peer-reviewed articles, articles from big medical journals where we can go and we can say, in fact, I know Amanda's on this call, you guys, and she's one that has an amazing testimony with her son. I was actually able to meet her in person. She brought me to tears with her story, so I could observe her story with my own eyes. I could feel it emotionally. But then I could go back and I could start looking at the articles and putting together those pieces of why it's doing what it's doing. So keep in mind, you guys, we are not talking about making curative claims. We're not talking about medical claims, but what we're talking about with the properties of this water are giving our bodies what it needs, our building blocks for our bodies to be able to keep its own state of balance. And when we have our bodies in state of balance or homeostasis, we don't have dis-ease within ourselves and in our bodies. So that's what this technology does for us. There we go. How does it work, right? Those are some pretty big things to say. And actually, Louise, can you go back for 1 second? Do we still have the K8 on that last slide? Because we're going to talk about how it works. But visually, I just want to point out, you can see this is our flagship model. It's the one I have. It's the K8. Just a couple things of note, kind of get the visual of what it looks like. You'll notice there's a tube going at the top and there's a tube coming out the bottom. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take a little sneak peek on what's actually inside the machine in the next slide. Thanks. Okay, so you see on this left-hand side, your tap water comes in. It goes through a basic water filtration system. So keep in mind, this is not a water filter. That's not its main job, but it does filter out a few things like chlorine and some basics. We actually do recommend that if you have issues with your water, you look into a pre-filter and we can help you with that, okay? But it's going to come into the machine. It's going to pass over the inboard filter, and it's going to go over a series of negatively and positively charged platinum coated titanium plates. And I will point out one of the more important things about these plates is they are medical grade. And if you start comparing models and you start really looking at the innards of different machines, you're going to see our plates are large, they're solid, they're medical grade, they're not mesh. So that's one of the differences I like to point out at this point. So again, negative and positive plates, right? As the water passes over, these negative and these positive plates have electrical and positive charge, and the water actually picks up the charge as it passes over them. And the alkalized minerals are going to be drawn to the negatively charged plates up to the top, and they're going to come out the top pipe, which is going to eject your alkaline water with all of the amazing alkaline and the reduced mineral properties. So it's going to condense down or draw up to it all of the alkaline mineral properties like the calcium, the magnesium, the potassium, and the natural sodium in the water. So all of the good things are going to come out the top. And then all of the more acidic compounds are going to be drawn towards the positive plates, and they're going to come down towards the bottom, and they're going to come out with your acidic water. There's zero waste with this water. That's one of the big questions. Since there is 2 hoses, what do I do with it? Well, in your box, there's a really great water resistant reference. I recommend keeping it right by your sink. That'll tell you, if I choose this button, what water is coming out the top and what water is coming out the bottom and what can I do with it. And we're actually going to talk more about the different uses other than the drinking water in just a minute. Okay, so just to recap, right, we are gathering and we're mimicking the properties of the naturally reduced water, and we've created electrolyzed reduced water. And the top 3 properties are microclustering, which is what gives it its superior hydration, right? We're going to hear things about how this hydrates faster and more completely on a cellular level. It's alkalized from naturally occurring minerals, like we talked about. And it has a really high concentration of dissolved molecular hydrogen, which again, remember Louise said we really want to remember that term because we're going to dig into it a little bit more later. And it's going to explain why it's with a superpower of this machine and of this water.
Yes, I love that. I love that. ERW, NRW, same properties. We're just doing it in a different way, right? And so what we're going to talk to you guys about today is that the 3 major causes of illness, right, are dehydration, acidity, and inflammation. Now, there's a book that I read like, I guess almost 2 years ago now, and it literally changed my life, you guys. It's called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. It's by a doctor from, I think he's Japanese. Anyways, he goes on to talk about literally everything in your body, like your health can come down to the hydration of your cell. If your cell's not becoming hydrated, you have an issue, right? And that can play out in so many different ways, and it can look like so many different things. Chronic dehydration doesn't necessarily have to fit this description of like, if you're chronically dehydrated, you might have dry eyes, or you might have, you might feel thirsty, or you could pinch your skin. Like, no, like chronic dehydration can look like so many things. And it's one of the major causes of illness. We're going to break down each one of these throughout this presentation, but I'm going to show you how this machine can help you, or how our electrolyzed reduced water can help you with dehydration. So what we have is called microclustering. This is one of the things that happens within our machine. So as Wendy talked about, the water kind of comes through the machine, right? It goes over the plates, kind of sort of like this. And as it does, it picks up a charge. Now I like to do two kind of sort of like mental demonstrations for you. If you can kind of just like picture like your H2O molecule, that's regular water, right? Well, the oxygen of that H2O molecule holds a slightly positive charge, which attracts all of these other oxygen or hydrogen molecules to it. And they kind of sort of clump together, like you see in this left picture, anywhere from like 50 to 20 clusters clump together. Water is not meant to be sitting in a bottle. It's not meant to be stored in a municipal holding tank being pumped through pipes underground, right? It's not meant for that. It's meant to flow. It's meant to move. That's what happens in nature, right? Water in nature doesn't necessarily hold a positive charge because it's alive, it's living, it's structured naturally. But when it goes and it sits and it's stagnant, like it's not really meant to be, this is kind of sort of what happens. So when you run it through a conga machine or an electrolyzed reduced or water ionizer, what happens is it's able to kind of sort of, we call the word microclustering for simple terms. There's really like a lot more to it than just that. But if you just picture in your mind, it kind of sort of breaks up these large clusters and turns them into like smaller clusters via the charge that it's picking up, right? And so if you can picture the cells of your body kind of like a chain link fence, and you can picture taking tennis balls and chucking these tennis balls at the chain link fence, trying to make them go through, how many of those tennis balls are going to make it through? Not very many of them, right? Unless you throw it really hard and shove it in there, right? But like for the most part, if you're just chucking these tennis balls, you're not really absorbing that. Your cells aren't really able to absorb it very well. And that's kind of sort of what happens, and why people can drink a gallon of water a day and still actually be chronically dehydrated, because if your cell isn't absorbing the water that you're giving it, you're not going to hydrate your cell like you need to hydrate your cell, which is why if you took a bottle of this size, or even a smaller bottle of like, let's say Dasani or Smart Water or tap water or whatever other kind of dead water you want to use, and you chugged it, what's going to happen is you're going to get a stomach ache. You're not going to feel very good. You're going to feel bloated. You're going to feel like it sounds like there's something sloshing around in your stomach. That's because there is something sloshing around in your stomach. It's the water, because it didn't go into your cells, right? Most people are going to pee it out before they actually absorb it. Another way that you can kind of picture this is your cell has a tiny little aquaporin, right? And this tiny little aquaporin is where the process of osmosis occurs. If you hear background noise in my background, I'm just momming over here, so don't worry. I'm trying to tell my kids to go in the other room, but they're not. So, but anyways, picture that this tiny little aquaporin of your cell is trying to absorb this water molecule. When it has a big clump like this, picture like a big like clump of grapes that are clumped together, and they're trying to shove themselves into this tiny little hole, right? How many of those are going to make it into the hole when you're trying to shove all of them at one time? Not very many, right? But if you give it this negative charge where the water then, instead of attracting each other or other molecules to it, it wants to kind of repel and make those go away from each other, then imagine the grapes individually kind of like repelling, and each individual grape is going to make it into the aquaporin a lot more faster, a lot more efficiently than the entire bundle, right? That's kind of sort of what microclustering is. That's how we are able to help with dehydration. That's how we're able to help people. I mean, it's said that you could hydrate your body literally up to 6 times faster by drinking electrolyzed reduced water. And I'm one to say that most people are walking around this world have no idea what it feels like to be truly hydrated. I know that my own personal story, that's how this water changed my life. I was dehydrated chronically and severely I had no idea that's what I was experiencing until I actually hydrated my body. And all of these things that I was experiencing that I had no idea were related to dehydration started kind of going away. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really wasn't sick. I was just thirsty. And electrolyzed reduced water can really help with that. So that's microcosm. The next thing that we're going to talk about is acidity, because acidity is another problem in our body, right? Like we know that like disease thrives more so in an acidic environment, and it doesn't do well in an alkaline environment. So what we're going to talk to you about a little bit here is how our machines can help reduce or neutralize, I should say, the acidity that's within our own bodies. And Wendy's going to talk to you a little bit about that.
I am. So I think by this point, probably most of you have heard about keeping your body in an alkaline state or an alkalized state versus an acidic state. You know, a lot of people, it's very a hot topic right now, like an anti-inflammatory diet. There'll be really low acid foods, low acid drinks, things like that. And I just want to read you really quickly what I pulled up. If you Google dangers of having an acidic state in the body, this is the first thing that pulled up for me. This is just signs and symptoms of a chronic state of acidity: allergies, breathing disorders, chronic colds, flus, headaches, indigestion, inflammation, fatigue, muscle cramping, pain, skin troubles, and sinus problems. So these aren't things that we think of when we think of having an acidic state in our body, right? We think of normally things like the C word going, like running amok, right? Where we really want to keep our body in more of an alkaline state. So let's talk just a little bit, because this is really a hot topic, is alkalized versus alkaline. I think most of us have seen or tasted or seen somebody drinking one of those bottled waters, right? That's usually Essential Water, Life Water. I can't think of the other brands, but we've got a couple of things to discuss when it comes to those. So alkalized water, right, as we discussed, that is with our Kangen machine. It's created by the process of electrolysis. So it's actually the process, and it's the reduction of the minerals and how you're getting the charge, the negative charge, and you're getting the alkalinization and the alkaline minerals pulled up to the top. So you're getting it through the process, right? Mimicking nature's own processes to alkalize the water, versus alkaline water. When you're getting it from a store, when you're getting it from a case, when you're getting it in a bottle, you're getting usually distilled water that's been completely stripped. And then they're just adding additives back in. Usually the most common one is sodium bicarbonate. So if you turn on the back of one of those bottles of water, you'll see 4 or 5 different ingredients. You'll see external aftermarket mineral, and you'll see aftermarket additives, again, like the sodium bicarbonate, to make it alkaline. And what I want to stress to you is that, yes, we would like to keep our systems in a slightly alkaline state, but this is not the same thing. And there's actually a video on our page that's really, really good that goes into this in more depth, right? How the stomach acid and this alkaline water play in your stomach, because that's a very popular question as well. But what I really want to point out is that by adding alkaline or fake, I don't want to say it's fake, it's externally made, right? The sodium bicarbonate, the baking soda made alkaline water, it actually disrupts your body's own regulatory system. Our bodies are perfectly designed. Our liver and our abdomen, our stomach, we have a very perfect system in place that releases just the right amount of alkalinity and just the right amount of stomach acid for our own digestion, for our own body's process. When you give your body an overabundance, or you give a regular dose of baking soda, you are disrupting that process. The alkalized water actually supports your body's own process of the fine line, especially in your gut, between the hyperchlorous acid, which digests your food, and the alkalinization. So I know we're kind of getting into a deeper topic right there, but that's the basic. And you'll notice when you open up a bottle, if you were to open up a bottle of like Essential Water or Life Water, it's going to look pretty flat. It's going to look pretty dead. And if you've ever tried the Kangen water, especially the 11.5, you'll notice tons and tons of bubbles. It almost looks effervescent. It looks living. So you can tell just by looking at it, it's a very, very different process. It's a different water, and it's going to respond really differently to your body and to your cells. Hey, why shouldn't we be drinking alkaline water? Well, we probably just covered a lot of that, right? Alkaline water contains the additives like we talked about, calcium or baking soda. It can actually build up, so you get a cumulative effect happening, and then your body really has a hard time regulating itself. And you just kind of get an overall system stagnation where things don't move. Number 2, carcinogenic chemicals in plastic leaching into the water and disrupting hormones. So I'm going to extrapolate on that for just a second. That's a very popular question. What does that mean to be a hormone disruptor? And I'll give you one example. One example, with the rise of the popularity in drinking plastic bottles of water, pay attention as you're out and about in stores. And I want you to start looking at younger men. You're going to notice a really high instance. It's what's called gynecomastia. Men should not have breast tissue. And if you start looking around, you'll start noticing larger breast tissue on boys and boys going through puberty. And that is exactly an effect. That is a hormone disruptor, right? That's an effect of those chemicals leaching from our bottled water into our system. That's not supposed to happen. And the environmental impact just is no bueno, right? It's all single-use plastic. We're going to cover that more in a minute. And then the cost. A typical cost of a case of alkaline water is about $30. And if you're on a monthly, like a family of 2, you're looking upwards of about $250. That's not in the summer in your critical hydration month. That's in just winter months, about $250 for the cost of a case of alkaline water. So that's the last reason. Next. Ooh, distilled to reverse osmosis. So my mother, you guys, is actually on this call. Her name is Linda, and she is the most perfect example for an RO system. She has a very expensive RO system underneath her counter that I just took out for her, and she's had perfect pearly whites my entire life, never really had a cavity, never had a dental issue. And a couple of years ago, her teeth started disintegrating, literally almost cracking and falling out. And we actually tracked it back to the fact that she had an RO system. And despite the fact that RO, reverse osmosis, will strip out all of, who says that? Yes, destroyed. I'll talk about that in a second, Danielle. It strips out all the crappy stuff, right? We don't want fluoride. We don't want our neighbors' pharmaceuticals. We don't want the residual chlorine. We don't want arsenic. We don't want those things. We want those out of our water. But the problem with RO is it strips everything out, including all of the vital minerals like the magnesium, the potassium, and the vital sodium that we have. So if anybody saw in the chat, Danielle said that RO water actually rotted her kids' teeth. And yes, that is a very perfect example from a team member. Danielle and Dave had a very, very expensive RO system. They were very, very cognizant of their health and their children's health, what they ate. And despite all of their best efforts, their teeth started going to pot. And it was only a biological dentist that brought it to their attention that it was probably the RO system that took all the minerals out that was playing into that. So you could also look up an article. It's published by the WHO. We like some of the things they say, and they talk about drinking demineralized water, which also distilled water does fall under demineralized water, and some of the health concerns. So you can see here hypertension, coronary heart disease, ulcers, bone fractures, gastritis, anemia, motor neuron diseases, and some cancers. And I don't know about you, but I don't feel like any of those should really come along with my drinking water. Inflammation. Do you want to take this one over, Louise, since you're going to show pictures of your own inflammation? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I was muted. There we go. Sure. Yeah, I can go for it. Yeah. So inflammation. I mean, we know inflammation is kind of a big bad guy in disease, right? You know, we need some inflammation. Of course, it can help our bodies in a lot of ways. We all have it a little bit, but when it becomes chronic and when it becomes excessive, that's when it becomes a problem, right? And inflammation, but like we talked about earlier, like we can actually measure this through thermal imaging. And so I'm going to show you guys in just a minute what this actually looks like inside the body. But one of the most amazing things about our water is that we can actually help reduce inflammation because, dun, 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 active molecular hydrogen. Do you want to talk about, or did you want me to do all of this part?
You know, why don't you can go ahead, and if I want to add anything about molecular hydrogen, I have a love affair with molecular hydrogen. So
yes, I do too. I do too. So again, we come back to that word, active molecular hydrogen. It's the superpower of this machine, you guys. It's like the fact that like our water creates, you know, yes, we have alkaline water or alkalized water, I should say, which is amazing. And yes, we have structured water that's microclustered for superior hydration, but really that's like the side benefits of the fact that we have a machine that can create molecular hydrogen right in your kitchen sink. Like this is an antioxidant. So we know, I'll go ahead and read this so I don't like skip over anything, but we know that environmental pollutants in the air, water, food, drugs, whatever can cause cellular damage, aging, inflammation, all of that sets the stage for illness, cancer, that types of stuff. Free radicals cause the aging and the damage to the DNA. Antioxidants are going to counteract the free radicals, right? So that's important to know. Antioxidants that you eat in your vegetables help with free radicals. Antioxidants in any form will help counteract the free radicals because the free radicals are causing the damage. So you can say that antioxidants protect your DNA and nourish your immune system. Well, hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, is the most potent and effective antioxidant that exists. Only non-toxic. It says that down here only because you can't have too much of it, right? Like, but it can get into places that other antioxidants can't, meaning so deep into your cell, because active molecular hydrogen is so tiny and so potent, it actually can cross the blood-brain barrier. Wendy had mentioned that Amanda was on this call, and I didn't even know she was going to be on this call. But I texted her while we were talking, and I was like, will you come on and do a testimony since you're here? And she's driving in the car right now. She said if she gets to the place that she's going in time, she'll do it. But she has a really incredible story to tell about her son, and it has a lot to do with molecular hydrogen. So hopefully she's going to be able to share with you guys. But basically, just so you know, part of the reason that we have inflammation is because of all of these things, right? The environmental pollutants in the air and the free radicals that are causing damage. I mean, it's like you wake up and you breathe and you go outside and whatever it is that you're doing, like you're exposed. You can't get away from free radicals. They're everywhere. That's what makes you age, but like what you can do is you can try to counteract those free radicals with antioxidants, and our water is loaded with molecular hydrogen, which is the antioxidant that we're looking for. It has been scientifically studied and found to selectively scavenge for and eliminate free radicals in our body. These same free radicals that cause damage to the cells, they result in inflammation, they result in illness, ultimately any type of illness. I don't even need to say words, because all illness is going to become, as a result of damaging of cells being damaged, right? And so our machine creates what's called H2, which is active molecular hydrogen, dissolved molecular hydrogen, molecular hydrogen. There's all these different ways you can say it, but really the term is H2 if you look at it from the compound element. Did you want to add anything before I show the picture? Because I know you love to talk about hydrogen.
I do love. The only thing I will add about it is, if anything piques your interest, if you're listening, and especially all of the statements, this is the place where I would encourage you to jump off and do research. There's over 1,100 articles right now on molecular hydrogen and its effects. So if you're really wanting to know how this water can support you or support someone in your family, I would say this is the best place to start. This is the best thing to write down a note about, is just reading about, and especially about drinking water with molecular hydrogen.
I just saw Louise asked, how does it create molecular hydrogen?
Oh my gosh.
You want to talk about
that's probably a 30-minute call. And I think you guys, there is a discussion with Dave Cooter about that on our team page. Because that's I can't answer that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I could do like a quick little overview of the understanding that I have of it. Of course, it's very sciencey. Oh, and by the way, hey, Louise, what's up, Louise? Louise says hi to Louise. I love it. It's not very often that you have friends that are named the same name as you when your name is Louise. So I love that. Anyways, so molecular hydrogen is H2, right? And water is H2O. So you have that oxygen molecule. And so my understanding of what happens is as the water runs over, it picks up this charge and it kind of sort of does this like separation almost, right? And so there's the hydroxyl ions that are involved, which I wish Dave was on here so he could just explain it real quick. Danielle, go get your husband. But basically, when you have an oxygen molecule that actually separates, and this doesn't happen to all of the molecules that are within the water, because obviously when you get the water out, it's still H2O, you still have water that's coming out. But some of them have turned into H2, which is molecular hydrogen, and then some of them, the little oxygen has actually popped off. So if we go back and look at that other image, actually, maybe I can go back and look at that real quick. Like that question. Oh, here we go. So you can actually see what's happening here. I think this is maybe this is not the right one.
That's the right one.
This is the right one?
Because you can see where it's the negative cathode that'll start drawing to it. Once you get that disassociation, I believe, and Dave will be the one to correct me, but I believe that it's the negative charge that pulls up but you know what? I'm probably misspeaking at this point. I don't want to confuse matters. But this is the right graphic. This is the right graphic, believe it or not, that shows how it It's created. And you know what, Louise, if you want a video, there's a place called Molecular Hydrogen Institute. There is a video that goes into a deep dive on how it's created if you want to watch that.
Okay, yeah. And so, I mean, but basically the gist is you've got your H2 and then you've got your O that kind of popped off, and then it kind of goes over here and you have your oxygen gas that comes out one side and you have a hydrogen gas that comes out the other side. And so it's through the electrolysis process, Louise. And she says, I would be the one to ask the difficult question. That's good though. We need the difficult questions because we need to understand it, right? So basically you're getting when you first get your first glass of Kangen water, what you'll notice, at least what I noticed, I poured my glass and I was like, okay, it was like super cloudy. And I'm like, why is it so cloudy? Is it supposed to be cloudy? I'm like, am I supposed to drink this? And then that's when I learned, like, yes, you're supposed to drink that. That is your molecular hydrogen, the gas bubbles that you're seeing, which is the cloudiness, that is the active molecular hydrogen. So you've got like the separation of the H2, and then you've got the oxygen gas that comes off and that goes out the acidic hose. And so of course there's like a lot more to it than just that. So that's kind of like just scratching the surface. But I know that you like to know like the sciencey stuff. And so we'll definitely get more of that for you, like the exact how it works in a separate video. So for now, I'm going to go on and show you guys the pictures because this is before, this is after. So January 2020 was when I got my machine in February 2020. So I took the pictures in January. And you can see, for those of you who are not familiar with thermography, anything that's like white and red, all of this is heat, yellow, green, like the white, this goes down in heat. So once you get down to black, pink, blue, like you're now getting into like colder. And so with thermography, it's like everything's about symmetry in your body. Just because you see red doesn't mean that you're like dying or that you're like, you know, whatever. But like when you can see here that like I have quite a bit of inflammation going on in my, the sides of my body, and then also right here in my abdomen. So then fast forward to January 2021 when I rescanned, and you can see how much reduced inflammation I had, you guys. Like that's insane to see how much my scan improved in 1 year of drinking this water. Even here down here in my abdomen, you can see how much better off that got. Now, I'm letting my cat out real quick. Real life, guys. Real life stuff. Everyone else still needs to do things while we're doing our call. And I'm like, why does everyone need something from me right now? So anyway, so again, like talking about before, like I felt a difference when I drank the water. Like I was like drinking the water, I started feeling better. I mean, I had some major issues, like health issues. Like I was one of those people, you guys, that was doing like all the things you could possibly imagine doing, like to be healthy, like eating really good, growing my own food, exercising, meditating and managing my stress and trying to heal from like trauma. I mean, all the things you can think of, right? But I still spent like years chronically sick. And I was like, why am I so sick? I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I doing? And then come to find out, like literally, like I was just severely chronically dehydrated. And so I started drinking water and I started feeling better. Like my energy came back, my vertigo was like gone, you know, and like my blood sugar issues, even, you guys, I used to get blood sugar like really bad, like it would drop so quick and I wouldn't know why or how. And I would be like shoving my face full of food, trying to make myself feel better. All that stuff like got better. And I was like, really? So like I started feeling the difference and it was huge for me. But then when I saw the results of this after I was drinking it for a year, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell everyone. I have to go out and tell, I have to show, I can't just tell, I have to show them. So here I am showing you pictures of me from 1 year of drinking this water. Like truly, really, like there's no doubt in my mind if this water is not like the most amazing thing ever. So then we have, oh man, is this me or this is me too? Okay. I'm like, is this me or you? This is me. So then we have NRW versus ERW. This is naturally reduced water versus electrolyzed reduced water. Structured water does exist in nature, and so does water that's full of molecular hydrogen. Structured water actually exists lots of places in nature. There's lots of ways you can structure water, but it's the structured water with the molecular hydrogen that makes our water so unique. And that's where you can find the water, like those 7 places that we told you about earlier. So anyway, scientists compared NRW from Norderney, Germany, which is one of those places that people just like flock to because of this healing water, right? They compared that to the electrolyzed reduced water from an ionizing machine and found that they were both effective in treating oxidative stress related diseases. So NRW, I always tell people anything that you can get in nature is going to be best. If you can get this, if you have access to NRW, if you live in one of those places in the world where you can get this stuff naturally, go get it naturally, because nature always does it best. Always, hands down. Yes, a Kangen distributor saying that there's better water in the world than Kangen water. Like, it's okay, right? Because in nature, you're always going to find it better. However, most people don't live in one of those places. And even if you did, the water, the properties of the water, that molecular hydrogen and the structuring, even so, have a shelf life. So even if you lived in one of those places in the world, you would have to be bottling this water up every couple of days in order to have those properties exist in your water. And so, anyways, ERW versus NRW. Yes, NRW always would win in my eyes, but ERW is the next best option. And just because we can't get you to Germany. I love, Wendy used to say this, I can't bring you to Nord Germany, but I can bring the water, a similar water, to your kitchen sink. And it's true, right? And then you have people that say, well, is it safe to drink water that's been electrically reduced? And the answer to that question is absolutely. Electrolyte reduced water has been scientifically studied more than any other water. There's hundreds of peer-reviewed studies, PubMed, Google Scholar, NIH, all of that stuff. Just like Wendy talked about, she really likes to like dig into the science part, where I just get excited about like my experience. I'm like, woo! So like when it gets too science for me, I'm like, okay, Wendy, Dave, I call them in, but there's so much out there. I mean, like, the science is truly on our side with this water. It's also a certified medical grade device used in Japan and Australia, and is used in numerous Japanese hospitals, with leading doctors prescribing electrolyte reduced water to their patients as treatment, which I think is huge. Especially because we have like I think it's over 10,000 doctors at this point that have actually are prescribing ERW to their patients. And then we have ERW, which mimics a natural process called naturally reduced water. So we already kind of talked about that. But if you think about us, like, we are electric beings, right? Every single time you go outside barefoot and you go walk on the grass, like, why do you think that you feel grounded when you do that? Why do you think that you feel better when you do that? It's because you're getting those negative ions from the earth, right? You're getting those negative ions from the earth, and it's grounding, it's making you feel better. When you go and you eat living food, when you eat fruit or vegetables that are alive, and it's like feeding your body, like, you feel better, right? And it's like the same exact thing that happens to you when you drink water that's living, when you drink water that has those negative ions that make you feel better. It's exactly the same thing. It's 100% safe. I've never heard of anybody being harmed by electrolyte reduced water. I've only heard the opposite. So just know that the answer to this question is absolutely yes, it is safe to drink electrolyte reduced water. And then we have a testimony here. I'm going to text Amanda and see if she's on, but this testimony, I'll just go ahead and read it to you. But this is the lady that I actually purchased my Kangen machine from. And I knew her for years of activism. Her and I used to fight like hardcore anti-vaccine bills, you know, like they were trying to force kids to get vaccinated in schools in California. We're like, no, we're not going to let that happen. Her and I used to go and like hold each other's babies while we went and talked to legislators together. So I've known her for years. And the first picture is what she looked like when I first met her. And like, she's beautiful, like either picture, right? Like she is. But if you think about it, if you look at the change of her face, her vibrancy, like, I mean, she almost kind of sort of aged backwards, which is incredible. And it says something about this water. So you can read her testimony. She started her journey 2 years ago. She was chronically dehydrated. No matter how much she drank, her cells were just not quenched. Extremely dark circles, signaling kidney deficiency. Her skin looked old. She was frequently ill. Children had dental issues. This is another thing, right? And then everything for her changed when she switched her water to alkalized microclustered Kangen water. And there's so much good science on the therapeutic effects of drinking electrolyzed structured water that it made perfect sense why we experience such a resurgence in health. So if you're watching, I mean, comment in the comments, right? Like, is that not like amazing to, you know, again, you can physically see the change. When you saw my change, you saw it thermographically. You can probably feel my passion and my energy. Like, that's the water, y'all. I didn't have no coffee today. That's just Kangen water. But you can see the change in a woman who was drinking this water for 2 years. I mean, it's truly, truly, truly incredible. And Wendy's going to talk to you about this, but I'm actually going to see if I can get Amanda on the phone too. So when you're done, Wendy, we'll see if we can get Amanda to come on.
Yeah, she's here. She just put in the chat. She's here.
Oh, good.
Yay. Does she need to, Amanda, do you need to come now? Do you need to talk now? Because if she's on a time thing.
Yeah, if you want to.
I can if you just want me to go. I'm down for it.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. All right. So, hey guys, my name is Amanda Dillard. I have a Kangen machine. I got mine a little over a year and it's been like 13 or 14 months. I think we've had our machine. And it's been life-changing for us. Not always, but I've been on my own healing journey, as I feel like most people have been, right? A lot of people don't start on their healing journey until something really terrible happens, or it's like a last resort thing, like, oh, fine, I'll try to do it holistically, right? So that's kind of my background in a nutshell. I have three beautiful boys, and we were really looking into different ways to make things a little better for our family as a whole, but especially our autistic son. I get emotional every time I talk about this. Gosh. So was completely nonverbal, no eye contact ever since around the age of 6 months old, and never interacted with his or his other brother. No interaction with strangers whatsoever. Things were really, really hard for us. And we had tried therapies, we had tried supplements. The biggest thing that made a difference for him was cleaning up his diet and changing his water. So when I met Louise and she told me about the water, it was at a networking event. And I tried it because I was drinking gallons of water a day and was always thirsty. So I tried her water because I was thirsty and didn't have enough water with me. I was ill prepared. And I didn't feel that sloshy feeling in my stomach that I always had. And I thought, well, that's really strange. Like there may be something to this. And we ended up getting a machine for our family. A few weeks after we received the machine, not only did like everybody else start feeling better and actually getting hydrated for the first time, but my autistic son made eye contact with me for the first time in years. And a couple weeks later, he started interacting with his brothers for the first time ever. And a few weeks later, he started trying to make noises to communicate. And a few weeks later, he said his first word. And a few weeks later, he asked a question. And that just really continued to where we've had our machine like 13, 14 months maybe. And he, when I leave the house, he's like, Mom, I'm going to miss you. He's hugging on his brothers and actually interacting and playing with his brothers on a level that I never thought was possible for him. He's able to communicate with us and tell us what he needs, whereas before that was impossible and made every single moment just that much more difficult because he could not communicate to us his needs, what he wanted, how he felt. And now he's able to do that. And the only thing that we changed during that time was his water. And for me, that's just, it was mind blowing, right? And life-changing for us, for our entire family. My other sons are better now too, but their life is better because their autistic brother is able to communicate. He's able to play with them. Mom and dad have a little more time and a little less stress in their lives to be able to be as good of parents as we can be, So that's my experience with Kangen water, and I will never, ever go back. And that's one of the reasons when Louise was like, do you want to talk about it? I was like, heck yeah, let me get somewhere where I can be for a second to be able to talk about it, because I will tell this to anybody, anytime, anywhere, because it has been so life-changing for my family. I would be doing a disservice to the world if I didn't tell our experience with it.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah.
I know. Well, I think everyone's always speechless after that. Like, what do you say? Like,
My God, I don't know.
You guys don't have to say anything. This is my life and I'm living it, and it's beautiful. And, it's been something where, just like Louise and like Wendy, it changes your life so much. You can't help but tell other people about it.
Right.
It's just a natural progression.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's so true. It's one of those things, like we've talked about a little bit on our team, it's like our company, Enagic, they have a motto that says, change your water, change your life. And you just heard Amanda's story, like that, this water has 100% changed her life. Like, not just because her son, like it's now improved the quality of their life in all of these other ways, right? It's changed my life. Now I can actually get up sometimes. Some days I couldn't even get out of my freaking bed. I had such low energy, and it was so bad, like I can actually get up and play and I'm like, woo, I'm energetic now. Y'all can see that, right? Like we've changed our lives, but like we don't necessarily want to stop there. Like our team kind of changed that motto of change your life, change your water, change your life, to change your water, change the world. Why do we want to stop at changing our lives? We want to help you change your life, right? We don't want to stop here. We want to say, how can this water help you? How can you then spread that word to help them? How can we continuously change the world by helping everybody have access to living, structured water? Like it's my wish that this water could be accessible and free for every single person in the world, that you could just go find this water in nature, go bottle it up and just have it. But like, unfortunately, our waters are polluted. Our earth is polluted. We're being sprayed. We're being dumped on. We're being like everything, right? And so we just have to find the next best option, which is, in my personal opinion, something like this at your kitchen sink. It's convenient, it's easy, it's affordable, and it will absolutely 100% change your life if you want it to, so, whoo, thank you for that, Amanda. Every single time it's like,
I know every time. Thank you, Amanda. I want to share with you that, Amanda, you are my reason for being willing to share this water and to do classes like this and to like our surface project. Meeting you and meeting your son was my passion, and it lit me on fire about really understanding the capabilities of this and why it does some of the things it does, and really seeing the impact, like the real life impact. And so thank you. I'm so grateful I met you.
Of course, it was great to meet you too. And thank all you guys. If you're considering it, seriously consider it, right? Find somebody, try the water, get whatever information that you need, because it truly has not only changed my son's life, but my entire family individually is healthier because we drink this water.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to not talk too quickly, but I'm going to cover these last few slides as comprehensively as I can. So not just for drinking. So we spent almost the whole last hour talking about mostly the benefits of the drinking water, right? Of the alkalized water, of the microclustering, of the hydration. But now I want to tell you about the reason you can fall in love with the water, right? Because when you actually get the machine and you start doing what I did and you put it through its paces and really start trying all of the other uses, that's when the love affair happens. So you can read here, Kangen machines can replace 90% of your household products. You guys, I didn't buy this at first. I was way beyond healthy skepticism. But then I started trying it. So disinfectants, things like the fact that this machine makes 2.5 water that is actually an FDA approved disinfectant. You guys, I worked in a hospital for 20 years. Like I know what it's like to have a migraine from a disinfectant. No more in my house. I don't use anything except water and lemon oil. Laundry soap. I just started this about a month ago, 11.5. And then I put a couple of essential oils because I like to smell pretty. In my laundry, I haven't had to use laundry detergent, and my towels are soft. My laundry's clean. Mouthwash. My gums, this is all personal stuff. I can attest to what I've tried. Using the 2.5 as a mouthwash and then following and neutralizing it with 9.5, my gums were bleeding every single time I've lost my teeth. And now that I rinse, I do it about 3 times a week. My gums haven't bled in like 6 months. Household cleaners and degreasers, we already talked about that a little bit. Look on the Kangen page. I think I just shared some photos. I just cleaned my grout on my tile, my house tile. I was going to have professional cleaners come in. I used 11.5 in lemon water, and I did not have to hire professional cleaners to clean my tile. Totally not kidding. And last but not least, we just cleaned. We live in California where our power goes out quite often. I have a generator. It's disgusting and greasy and gassy and gross. We sprayed it down. I'm not kidding you guys, with 11.5 water and wiped it clean. It looks like it's brand new. So there is a ton of uses for this water besides just the drinking and all the amazing benefits that we talked about. Okay, and then again, I'm not going to spend too long on this because we did touch on it before. It's good for the earth. Every year, 8 million tons of plastic goes into the oceans. Guys, this is not acceptable. Ask Louise. She is there fighting the good fight for Mama Earth, protecting Mama Earth, right? And the way that I see these pictures, I do not see an environment that is fit for the earth to thrive. And the earth is meant to be, we're meant to be in a symbiotic relationship, in a beautiful, balanced relationship with nature and with Mother Earth. When we make choices like this to introduce things like this, we're not doing our part. And so I know by using this machine and cutting down on the waste, I'm doing more of my part. And last but not least, Enagic is a brand leader and a pioneer in ionizers. They're over 47 years old. All parts are OEM, which means they're manufactured in-house. Every single part is manufactured in-house. That means you can really, they stand behind what they build. There's multiple certifications for quality. They have the gold standard all over the market. You can read about them and their history in this market. There's a 5-year warranty that comes with it. There's an extended warranty if you need it. There's financing available if that's an issue for you. You guys, my grandparents had this machine when I was in my teens. My grandfather got diagnosed with cancer when I was in my teens, and I remember them getting this machine on their counter and having it for years and years. And from an investment standpoint, the last thing I'll say, yes, there's financing options, but it's really more than just an investment in your health. It's an investment in your planet. It's an investment in your family. It's an investment to those around you. And I think the benefits you'll find really will come back to you tenfold. Sorry to talk so fast.
That was perfect. I want to say something on here really quickly too, because it says here that the yearly cleaning and maintenance for the life of the machine, you only pay shipping. You actually pay $40, but it's still very, very, very affordable. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. But I also want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being here, because that just shows that you were putting you first, right? Your health, and it's important for you to spend. I mean, everybody has choices on how they're going to spend their day and their time, right? And we appreciate that you spend an hour of your time with us, because clearly you can probably tell we're just really passionate people that want to help other people feel better, right? Feel better in life, because we know what it feels like when you're drinking really good water, when your cells are hydrated, and when you have that living water. Like we said, when you eat living food, you feel better. When you drink living water, guess what? You feel better too. And we just want to help everyone feel better. So if you're watching this in our Facebook group, cool, then you're already in the group. That's awesome. If you're watching this on Zoom, feel free to join our Facebook group, Kangen Water Collective. We do weekly interviews every Friday, like 10 to 15 minutes long, where we talk about different aspects of the water, and we just continue education constantly. You can post questions. Obviously, you can post questions here too. So if anyone has a question, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer. I'm seeing here, I'm looking on Facebook, and Wendy, maybe you can, we got someone joining right now.
Let's see.
See if there's any questions in the chat. I saw Louise was saying that there's autism in her home, Meltdown Central. She has gluten. I can't wait for you to be able to try this water, Louise. Like, you're gonna love it. Jessica saying she had chills. I saw a question come in earlier. I'm trying to go back.
It's a question about glass is best. So actually, I believe we have one member of our team that really studies this intensively. I think, Louise, correct me if I'm wrong, aluminum is actually the best, followed by stainless steel and glass.
Yeah, aluminum, and that was really more so to keep the properties of the water lasting longer. It wasn't necessarily about it being best, but if you want to, for the permeation of the water, like it holds the properties longer if you store it in aluminum. I drink it in stainless steel, but I'm also not really storing water for very long. Usually when I pour it, I'm drinking it like within the first few hours of pouring it. But if you want to store your water for like a long period of time, 2, 3, 4 days, and you want to hold the properties on as long as possible, then aluminum is the best one to do that in. I saw Louise asked what, I know lots of people who put alkaline drops in their water. What are those made out of? Alkaline drops could be, what it's made out of is probably just dependent on the company, but like they're probably using synthetic minerals that are just like the water bottle, like the alkaline companies. They're putting in calcium, magnesium, potassium, bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. Though they're probably just adding in those minerals, which will raise the pH of the water. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's any better for you, because oftentimes it's synthetic and can cause other issues. You know, just because you have a high pH in your water doesn't necessarily mean the water is good for you. So anyways, that's what I see. Hopefully that helps, Louise. And then I don't see any questions in on the Facebook group. I'm looking back there. So if anyone else has anything, feel free to pop it in here. Otherwise, Heidi asked, is this being recorded? You missed the beginning. Yes, Heidi, it is. So you can watch the beginning after we're done. And then I feel like that might be the only other questions I see here. So let's see. If anyone else has anything, feel free to put it in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Wendy, thank you. It's always a pleasure to share space with you here, and love hearing from you. So All right. Well, I guess if we're all done here, then I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. And if you have any questions, reach out to the person who invited you here. Whoever that person is, reach out to them and they will get you further information so that you can get, look at some of the options of whether you're thinking about getting one of these into your home. They can send you what that might look like for you because it might look different for everybody depending on where you are in the world and in the different methods of buying it and the different machine options and all that. So you just want to make sure you reach out to whoever it is that invited you here, get in touch with them, and they will help you on the path to getting your Kangen water journey started. So thank you guys so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.